Hey guys, my name's Sam and welcome to Prepmedic. In this week's video, I'm going to show you how to compete with me on social media. So this week's video, we are taking a little bit of a hiatus from our usual medical content, and I'm going to be giving you 6 different tips for starting your own YouTube channel or social media account. And then I'm going to go through some of the gear that you need and gear that you don't need to actually get a channel going on YouTube. So the reason I wanted to do this video today is because public safety and EMS in particular is grossly underrepresented on social media platforms. And when you do find content from EMS, fire, police, a lot of times this is pretty negative content, and it's stuff that really might be funny for us as providers, as people in the field, but are a pretty big turnoff for other people maybe looking to get into the field, and then they can breed some bad attitudes. This week, I really want to encourage people to go out and start YouTube channels, start Instagram pages, and promote public safety on social media accounts and start balancing that out a little bit more. I would love it if somebody watching this video took some of this advice and ended up passing me in subscribers and views on YouTube. This is a platform that has a lot of room for growth, and there are a lot of really great creators on here. So just because it's technically competition doesn't mean that I would not really like that to happen. So tip number 1 is you have to be a subject matter expert in what you're going to be talking about. If you are not through EMT school and you want to start like a first aid video and you don't have a whole lot of experience, it's not going to go very far and you could be giving misinformation. You have to be really good about what you're talking about because people are coming to your channel to learn something. And if they come, they see you and you're talking at a level that's below them, they're probably not going to want to watch the rest of that video. It's generally a waste of time. So be a subject matter expert. Step number 2 is going to be think through what kind of content you want to be doing long term. Is it sustainable? Is it something that you're going to have 2 good videos and then you're not going to have anything else to put out for regularity? Is the market saturated with this? We see this a lot with your video editing channels. There are a ton of videographers that have YouTube channels because it is really close to what they do in a professional settings. And they've got gorgeous picture, they've got gorgeous sound, it's all great, but the market is so saturated, a lot of these guys cannot get subscribers or views on their channel despite their high production quality. And then what are you doing that other people aren't doing? Are you going to present the information in a different format? Are you going to teach information that's not readily available? What is going to set you apart as opposed to somebody else that's already on the platform and established? Tip or step number 3 is going to be decide on your branding. This is something that I did way before even starting the channel. I went through and I got a font, I got colors, and logos created for me because when I put my channel out, I wanted to look professional from the first video I uploaded. So I actually went through a friend who's a graphic designer and commissioned her to make my logo. So this isn't the logo I started with, but she also did the redesign and went to this guy here. She also designed the Romeo patches you guys saw on my Instagram, and then designed all the banners and the profile pictures, everything for my channel so that when I put something out to begin with, that's what it was. I've even taken that so far as I use the same font for all of my thumbnails, and that's just really good continuity to have. I would recommend going through a graphic designer because they are so good at what they do. They have college degrees. They're a little bit expensive, and I can leave a link to my friend's design business. She's got a lot of experience in the social media realm and designing these logos for me and a couple other people. So I'll leave that down below. If you can't afford a graphic designer, that's totally understandable. This is a hobby, you're just starting it, you're probably not making any money off it right away. So you can go through an app called Canva or do some online photo editing. Just be aware, I wouldn't really recommend that because it isn't the most professional way to go about it. Number 4, make sure you have the right equipment and software. So this people misconstrue with needing a very fancy camera and a very fancy mic and lights and all of this stuff. And I won't lie to you, I have invested quite a lot of money into my studio, but you don't need everything I have here to get started and have really high quality videos. So I will kind of talk about the specific gear I would recommend for somebody just getting into the YouTube game a little bit later in this video after we get through these 6 tips. You are going to need to learn how to edit video. One takes just don't happen. I think out of like my 100-some videos, I've done one video in one take, and I was absolutely amazed that it turned out. But you're going to need to know how to cut and splice. It doesn't have to be super fancy. You don't have to be doing all of these cuts and split screens that I put in my videos. But you're going to need to learn that a little bit. So starting to look at some tutorials on whatever program you're using. Once again, we're going to talk about programs down below. That's a really good place to start and to get good at before you even start filming content. Tip number 5 is plan and begin making your content. So don't start posting right away, but you should have a backlog of between 3 and 5 videos. I'd start and film one, edit it all the way to the end, have a final product, and then learn from whatever mistakes you made from there. Still, you're going to post that eventually, but then your next video and your next video can all learn from the first one's mistakes, and you can kind of continually improve your process. You want to have a backlog of videos because one of the things that the YouTube algorithm really smiles on is consistency throughout your editing. So you want to make sure that you are releasing a video at a minimum once a week. And I would really start there because even one video a week is a lot of work. I'll be completely honest, I do not know how a lot of these vlog channels and stuff are putting out a video every day or even 3 videos a week. Just having one a week is really hard for me to maintain. And generally speaking, I spend about an hour to 2 hours a week filming the video, and then I'll spend about 8 hours to 16 hours a week actually editing that same video. Granted, I go really in depth. I've got multiple camera angles. I do a lot of effects in my videos. I do a lot of color grading. When you start out, it probably won't take you that long for those reasons, but you're going to be a little bit new to the software, so it might be a little bit harder to actually get that done. So get the backlog, and then if you just don't have time a week, you can take one of those videos you have and throw it up and be done. And it's kind of a more efficient way of doing it. The final step and the final piece of advice I have for you starting your channel is you're going to have to start grinding it out. You're going to start with very few subscribers, very few people watching your videos, and you're going to be putting in a lot of effort. I have a Raptors Trauma Shear video up. I did a review on those a while back, and I think at that point I had less than 100 subscribers. So it's really hard to keep that motivation through those early months. Now, I went for about 6 months before I really started to have an audience and a following and even get above 1,000 subscribers. I was just being super consistent, following what I was doing, and eventually, obviously, that worked out. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, there is some luck involved with that. I was selected for Creator on the Rise when I hit about 20,000 subscribers, which put me on the YouTube trending page somehow. So that really skyrocketed me past that 20,000 sub mark. But for a lot of people, 20,000 subs is a lot of subscribers. And I got there without that, of just grinding out content and trying to improve the entire time. All right, now that we talked about kind of my 6 tips to getting started and kind of the general content, let's start talking about the nitty-gritty, more of the gear aspect of this and what you need to get and what you don't need to buy, which I think is one of the most important aspects of this, because you have a lot of YouTubers, a lot of the video guys that are saying, well, you have to buy this $2,000 camera, you have to have this $500 mic, and the reality is you do not. So talking about the camera first, because that's kind of the pinnacle of YouTube. You need a camera to film videos. I would recommend just going with your smartphone camera to begin with. Most smartphones, most iPhones, like this one here, they have a 4K camera in them. This will film better video than almost anything you can buy on the market without getting into the $2,000 range. So set this to 4K and you can film great content with it. As you can see, the iPhone's camera is perfectly fine. This is 4K, 24 frames per second. The only thing bad about the iPhones is that their sound quality out of the box is not great. Little known fact about video editing, sound quality is actually more important than your video quality. People will leave a lot sooner if you've got bad sound. So starting with the least expensive, kind of working our way up for sound options. Your iPhone headphones or your AirPods are okay. They're not great, but they do bring that mic a little bit closer to your mouth. They're going to eliminate some of that ambient sound. And it's not the best option in my opinion, but you can do a lot worse with the quality. Your next step up is going to be getting a shotgun mic of some kind. One of the most common shotgun mics you'll see vloggers have is this Rode Micro. Now, this is a shotgun mic, so it just points towards your mouth and you can speak, and it actually has pretty high quality on it. You can plug this directly into your phone. I have this on a wireless receiver, so it actually syncs all my audio. I'm a little bit fancier than you have to be, but this is a great option for your audio that will cost you about $60. $60 is not bad at all when you're talking about video equipment or anything like that. Your next step down, and what I actually started with, is going to be an Zoom handheld recorder. Now, this guy is a kind of an ambient recorder. It's not going to record directional sound. This on its own costs about $120. You can plug a lavalier mic, so this little mic here, into this, and you can buy that. I bought the Purple Panda one for about $20. So about $140 for this entire setup. And this is actually what I started with when I started my channel. And the sound quality was decent, in my opinion. Now, the next step up from that is you can get kind of the whole package if you don't want to like mix and match and learn how to do that. This guy is the Zoom field recorder. This is a lav set that comes with your mic directly into this, really easy to use. Now, granted, you have to sync your sound up in all of these options except the shotgun mic in post-production, which takes a little bit of time learning. But I've actually been using this for the last like year and a half-ish. Really, really good quality. And this one here will cost you about $160. So we're getting up in price. Once again, it's less than $200. And I know some of you out here are spending $200 on a lot sillier things. So this is another option. And then of course you can spend anything you want to with this video equipment. These wireless receivers and transmitters I'm using now to go directly into my camera, I think these cost me about $450. So, you know, you can spend anything you want, but for bang for your buck, I'd get a lav set or a Rode shotgun mic of some kind because they're relatively cheap and relatively easy to use. The advantage of the Rode shotgun mic is that you can plug it directly into your camera and it's going to sync all your audio so you don't have to deal with that in post-production. All right, last up in the gear category before we talk about some of the softer goods like video editing, picture editing, things like that, is going to be lighting. So I once again have pretty expensive lights in here, but you don't need that. The best bang for your buck and the highest quality lighting you can get without actually spending any money is going to be a window without direct light coming into it. So if you can get a window by your house, you can just sit right next to it. You can take your phone, put it right in front of you, and you're gonna get this really nice soft light on the side of your face and a shadow on the other side. It looks really cinematic, and once again, it is 99 cents free. So that's how I would recommend you start. You don't need a fancy backdrop. When I started this channel, I was in my living room and then my wife's office for a little while. And it wasn't until I got a lot bigger that I actually created a studio to film in, but you by no means need it. Your content is gonna speak for itself. Just make the visuals a little bit appealing at least. If you do want studio lights or you want to film in a certain location in your house that doesn't have windows or you don't wanna be beholden to time of the day, cloud cover or whatnot, you can get studio lights for under $100. Generally speaking, you should have a key light, which is the one I have here. This is the only absolutely necessary light, but you can also get a fill light to kind of lighten up the shadows on the side of your face. And then I have a hair light that gives me just some definition from the backdrop. Those are things that you can get, but you really only need one to start out. All right, so moving on to the last two things we're talking about. We're gonna go through video editing and then some of the extras. So for video editing, I use Adobe Premiere Pro. I have the entire Creative Cloud suite, which ends up costing me about $50 a month that's kind of expensive. If you want Adobe Premiere Pro on its own, that's $25 a month, which is a little bit more doable. You're all spending that in video software for Netflix and Hulu and all of that anyways. But you don't necessarily have to pay for video editing software. Adobe kind of lets you scale your work from beginner to professional, which is why I chose it right from the beginning. I wanted to get good at it. But you can get some free software, and I don't have any experience with these, but the internet tells me these are the best free video editors on the market. You can get Blender, Lightworks, or Shotcut are all free. If you have a Mac, you can get Final Cut Pro, and I'm not sure what that costs because I've never used it. I do have a MacBook, but I don't use that at all. So just keep in mind that there are a lot of options out there, and this is kind of your prep process. You should know how to edit videos at least to a basic degree when you come in and start filming content, because nobody wants to see you sit there and say and forget what you're saying and have long pauses, which happens every single time I film a video. If I don't like turn around and swear because I mess up, I wasn't actually filming anything. So the last thing we're going to talk about is kind of the extras, the things you don't necessarily think about when you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel. And these are going to be things for like your intro. So I've got the intro that goes after I introduce the topic. It takes about 16 seconds to go through. And I got that off of Envato Market or Fiverr. So Envato Market is just a place where you can get templates and you can drag and drop footage into kind of a cool sequence. Generally costs you about 20 bucks to get one of those done, but then you can reuse it for all your videos. And it does take some prowess on your part. You're either going to need After Effects, DaVinci Resolve, or Premiere Pro to make this work. Or you can do Fiverr, which is literally paying somebody generally $5 for some poor graphic designers. You pay them $5 and they can put in your footage into an intro for you. Sometimes it's a little bit more expensive than $5, but if you don't have like After Effects and you don't want to learn, which I wouldn't blame you, I hate using it, you can go to them and they will make something for you. It'll just be maybe a little bit less unique than it would be if you made it yourself. So for music, I'm using Audio Jungle for almost everything. You'll notice some of my earlier videos, I didn't actually pay for it, so I get that stupid watermark through the entire song. Now that was before I was making money on the channel. Now I'm kind of self-sustaining. But generally for about $20, you can buy a license to a song. You can put it in your videos without getting copyright strikes. That being said, you can get a lot of free music that doesn't have, that's not copywritten. It's basically free music from YouTube itself. So if you just need something ambient, something easy to use, you can grab that from YouTube. I don't exactly know where it is, but it's in there, and put it in your projects pretty easily. You can also use Epidemic Sound, but I only use that for like, if I'm going to like film something for a client or something like that. Yes, I have clients. Yes, I actually film other things besides EMS content sometimes. It's shocking. But those are like $50 to $60 a song, and they're usually pretty high quality songs. Not something I use for YouTube a whole lot. Now, last but not least, picture editing. Picture editing is super important because if you don't have good thumbnails, it doesn't matter what your content is. You need to actually edit something in so people can look at it, gets a little bit clickbaity at times, and gets you into the video. So people, click-through rate is what YouTube calls it. So for this, you either need Lightroom, which is what I use for like all my Instagram photos. I put in my photos, I edit them in there, and then I post them to Instagram. And then I either export that to Adobe Spark, which is like an online marketing program from Adobe. I get that with my Creative Cloud subscription. Or if you're a little bit cheaper, you can go to Canva, which is basically free photo editing. It's basically made for making your thumbnails. So that's another option for you. That is all I have for this video. I hope it wasn't too in the weeds or too kind of off topic of public safety and medical preparedness in general. I'm gonna try to leave a link to some creators that I really like in the public safety realm down below so you can check them out, hopefully support them, give them some follows because some of them are in that grinding phase of building their viewer base. Also, if you guys decide to start a YouTube channel, if that's something you've been looking at doing and this video helps you out, please shoot me a link to your channel in my email. I don't always respond to them because I get a crap ton of correspondence but I look at all of them and I'll sub to your channel and all of that good stuff. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below, and I will see you next week.